Hey everyone, it's Adam Helfman from Hire It Done. Thank you for tuning into my podcast today. We're going to talk about everything electrical. You've got smartphones, laptops, iPads, gaming systems, the grid, power-hungry house. How are you going to solve it? Well, today we've got Josh Young from Voltron Power in studio. We're going to be talking everything electrical from A to Z. So Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam. I'm glad to be here.
Of course. Tell everyone a little bit about Voltron Power, what you do, and we'll get right into electrical tips.
We are a full-service electrical contractor. We specialize in residential work. We do have commercial and industrial clients as well. And we are a authorized Generac dealer and installer, so we do a lot of standby generators for homes in the area.
It's interesting you just talk about generators, and since we are, let's talk about it really quick. It seems to be that's the newest add-on. Everyone used to say, oh, it's a luxury to have air conditioning. Today, we would say, oh, it's a luxury to have generators, but now everyone wants a generator. Can you tell me why?
Well, we have to now because we're so much more reliant on electricity. Everything we have from our laptops to our phones to anything is powered by electricity. They can't be charged. They can't, your modem goes offline. You don't have internet. We're so dependent on all that electrical, service that we have to have backup power if the grid goes down.
And the grid is old.
It is old and
overworked. Are they doing
overworked.
anything to upgrade it? Like, have you seen like anything like new lines, underground, power stations? What's going on?
Well, what is visible to our industry right now is the utility companies are burying their lines whenever they're making new installations. For instance, any new subdivision of homes that are built, all of their lines are underground now. So you're not going to have the poles going through your backyard and all those overhead lines. Those are obviously taken down by trees and storms very easily. So that minimizes that downtime and just basically overall makes the system more reliable. That doesn't, however, just make magically more power available to everybody. The main lines are still old. The main, the electrical plants are still at max capacity. The demand from society is higher than it's ever been. So yeah, even though your particular lines may be buried underground and are safe from a tree branch falling, that doesn't mean the overall grid is more reliable and has more power available. So with that fragility in the system, you want to have a standby system because, again, our lives are dependent on basically being online, and you can't be online with no power.
Let's give the audience a quick, easy description of how a generator works.
Well, a standby generator, without getting too technical into the, mechanical issues of it, is when the utility power goes out, it senses that and turns the generator on and then transfers the power automatically to the generator power. So your house is back up and running, usually within 10 or 20 seconds.
So that's what that transfer switch, what they call it, a transfer switch. It takes, when there's no power coming from the lines,
Yep.
It notices it.
It turns the generator on, lets it get up to speed and warmed up, and then automatically kicks power.
Now, what happens, in my area, I've seen the lights flicker and the power goes out, and then it goes back on like 10 seconds later.
Oh, Adam, that could be myriad of things. Anywhere down there. It could be construction.
The generator is smart enough to know not to go on because...
Correct.
Okay.
Now, if it's out of power for a certain amount of seconds, then it will kick it. So if your power goes out for 20 seconds, yeah, it'll kick on and then your generator will kick off again.
Okay. And so that's the thing. Now, do you recommend anybody who's buying a house or anybody who's ever had some power issues that they should explore getting a brand new generator for their house?
Of course. Again, we're all relying on power. I think every house should have one. If you value your life not being interrupted if the power goes out, then yeah, you'd want a standby generator.
Yeah, well, everyone's addicted to it.
And not to mention, the equipment in your home, your furnace, your air conditioner, those comforts. If you're without power in the wintertime, your furnace doesn't work. Your house freezes, your pipes could freeze and burst. You're cold. It snowballs. You don't want to be without power for any reason.
Got it.
And so you're going to want to have your house protected by a standby generator.
So it seems to be for upgrading your home, generator is on the top of the list.
100%.
For people to do
Number
which
one.
Makes sense.
Number one, I would say.
You are certified by Generac, which is the largest generator company around.
Yep.
Okay, so you've been trained by the factory, basically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're authorized installers and a dealer. They have another branch of what they do with their technicians in the field, and they have like a service tech department where they'll like come out and oil change, air filter change, all that
Clean
stuff and maintain it. We don't do that. We have companies we work with that are very reputable that do, But we're in the installation and dealership aspect.
Why? But why Generac? Like, there's a bunch of names out there, but why would you go with Generac?
I like Generac the best because their products have become top of the line over the past 20 years. Back when I started in the industry, they kind of had a bad rep of being, kind of lower end, cheap, but they're elite now.
They've evolved.
And not only that, but since they are the biggest supplier of generators, their parts are readily available. Their service technicians are readily available.
That's important.
You don't want to have a piece of equipment that's hard to get parts for or hard to find somebody to work on. With Generac, it's on every corner.
So every house is different. Every homeowner's electrical needs are different. When someone calls you and says, I want to explore a generator, is there a checklist or there are questions you need to ask the homeowner so you size the generator properly?
Yes, but the only questions I would need to ask a homeowner would be their future plans for their electrical system. Because I can see what they have in their house now.
Okay.
So by going to their electrical panel, looking around their house, I can see and estimate what their demands already are. My questions would be, do you plan on getting an EV charger in the future, a hot tub outside, something like that, or an in-ground pool, another large electrical load that you don't currently have that you may want to explore in the future. Because then you'd want to size your generator accordingly. Because if you put a generator now that suits your current needs, and then your needs go up, then you're going to have to spend a lot more money to
plan for the future.
Yes.
So one good tip is to plan for growth in your house. So a homeowner with one kid might have 2-3 kids later. That electrical usage goes up by each child too.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's more people complaining when the power goes out and their iPad doesn't work.
Right. Or the gaming system or whatever. So today people come home, they take the shoes off, they put the keys on the thing, and there's plugs. Everyone wants to plug in their phone, their iPad. Have you gone into homes as like a service call and upgraded plugs for people?
Yeah, those upgraded plugs, you can buy plugs now that have the USB ports in them built in. So you don't need the little transformer plug-in in your wall outlet. Yeah. So you can just plug your cord right into the outlet and charge your phone or your iPad or whatever you're using. And
are those easy to do?
I mean, for a pro, they're easy to change. I wouldn't recommend Johnny Homeowner doing it.
Yeah. And by the way, for everyone out there in the hire it done land of hiring contractors, electrical is the one situation where don't like to touch any of that. I don't want to plug anything in. I don't want to turn power on, off. I want to leave it to the pros. I got shocked one time and that was it for me. Enough of that.
I mean, people think that it's easy because you just connect black to black and white to white, but it's a whole lot more complicated than that. And I've seen a lot of, even electrical engineers, they apply electrical theory and they draw schematics on computers and blueprints, but real world application, no bueno. So I've seen a lot of potential fires.
I was thinking about that. So if a homeowner right now is watching this and they're like, oh my God, yeah, I've had flickering lights. I want extra plugs. Everyone's always fighting over a charger. Can they call you? Can you do like an assessment, like a walkthrough?
Absolutely.
Is there a thing that you can do for homeowners?
We can do inspections from like a basic inspection where we just say, oh, you'll need GFI plugs here, or maybe get some USB charging plugs here or there. Or it's from a basic inspection all the way to a comprehensive inspection where we're opening up your panel. We're making sure all your wiring is there, no double tap circuit breakers, check your outside service, make sure that's in good working condition. We can provide advice to ways to maintain your electrical system without having to spend thousands of dollars, because it hadn't been maintained. So we cover everything from basics to
electrical panel that comes into your house, 100 amp, 150 amp, 200 amp.
Yep.
When you open it, it's supposed to be, keyword supposed to be labeled properly. I have yet to see a properly labeled panel. Why is it that they're always not labeled properly?
A lot of the panels are old, and back in the day, they didn't have code requirements for properly labeling your panel. In fact, when I started in the industry in 2000, for the first few years, when we would pull circuits in a new home that just were doing like lights and plugs around the house, that's all we'd have to put, lights and plugs or general lighting. So there's 10 circuits that all say general lighting. Who the hell knows what that is? So we would come in there, we'd have one guy stationed at the panel, we'd have like a walkie-talkie if there was a bad cell, or on our phones, and the other guy walking through the house, turning switches on and off, plugging in plug testers and seeing what plugs working, while the other one's turn it off and on the circuit breakers. And it can, depending on the size of the house, it can take hours.
So if there's someone
because you have to check everything, and we condense it as much as possible onto your labeling plaque, but that's a comprehensive way to get your panel fully and accurately labeled.
I can actually call you up because I'm obsessive like that, and say, listen, I just want you to spend a couple hours and label my panels.
Yes.
And if out of that, you'll make recommendations. Hey, Adam, you could use this, and this. Because, okay, so that makes sense to me. Now, earlier in the conversation, you mentioned electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that the electric vehicle business is really growing fast.
It is.
People want a Tesla, and they want to be able to plug it in. So you come home, got a brand new electrical vehicle. Do you do plugs for those?
Absolutely.
And how does that look? What does that work? How does it work?
First of all, we have to assess that your main panel is sized appropriately for the new load. Because with EVs, the basic residential vehicle charging stations, there's 3 amperages, and that's a 40 amp, a 50 amp, or a 60 amp. When those are turned on and your vehicle's charging, that is the full load. It's using all of that power. There's no setting where you can ramp it down to like 10%.
Trickle charge, none of that.
I use the example of like your stove, your range. An electric range is on a 50 amp breaker. If you're just turning on one burner to heat up some soup, you're not using 50 amps. But when you plug in your car charger on a 60 amp circuit breaker, you're using all that. So if you have a 100 amp panel and you have a 50 amp air conditioner, you have a stove and a dryer, and now you kick your EV on, your power's going to brown out. You have to upgrade your system.
That's a really good point. So if somebody is in the market to buy an EV, can they call you up and say, look, I'm thinking about getting the new Ford Lightning electric vehicle.
Yeah.
Come to my house first and look at my electrical panel to make sure that my system can handle it.
Yes.
And if it can't, what do? You upgrade?
Yes.
The panel?
Most of the times when you have a 100 amp service and you just want to buy an EV, you're going to have to upgrade it.
200
There's sometimes, I guess, if a lot of your appliances in your house are not 220, then you could probably just get away with upgrading to a 150 amp panel with an EV. But otherwise, if you have like central air, electric dryer, electric range, you're going to want to go for a 200 because that additional load of the car charger is so great.
So again, I don't know, but I have kids. I use a lot of electronics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to rely on you. So you'll do the assessment. You'll say, okay, you got an electric vehicle. You'll take a look and you'll tell the homeowner, look, your needs are today not even being met. You need to do this. But if you're having more kids or you're going to grow, maybe you love your electric vehicle and you get another one, 2 of them, you definitely need to upgrade the electrical.
Well, at that point, it's not even an option with 2. I'm saying, yes, we can go into your house, provide professional assessments and advice, and tell the clients what they need to accommodate their electrical needs. And with an EV, that's the highest electrical demand your house is going to have. So,
okay. So let's give a scenario to the listeners here.
Okay.
I got a 100 amp service in my house. Everything works fine.
Okay.
I'm getting an EV.
Mm-hmm. Now, what my first question there is, what amperage charger are you getting?
Okay.
Because there's basically, like I said, there's like 3.
I want the fast super lightning.
Well, then you're going to get the 60 amp.
Okay. So that means you got to take my service panel and already upgrade it to 200 amp?
I would be looking at what 240 volt appliances they have. Electric range, electric dryer, central air.
So you're going to do that. Now, okay, so you actually do
because I'm not going to hook up an EV charger for them and then they charge your car and their freaking main breaker trips.
Oh,
or they get a brownout.
Okay.
Because then I look like an idiot.
Is there what's the cost range for let's say that you're putting in a 60 amp charger for a new EV. The house has a 200 amp service. What is the range? Is it $500 or is it $5,000 to put in
for the circuit for the charger? It varies based on where the panel is.
You got to run a wire all the way.
The garage is. Yeah.
Okay.
So it varies. If it's close, it could be like $800. If it's far away and drywalled ceiling in the basement, all that, it could be $3,000.
Okay, so it depends on how
much
work's involved. Okay. Yeah. So that's important, but you do that quite a bit now.
All the time.
Okay. So homeowner needs service. While they're there, they might as well have you do an assessment of the rest of the electrical as well.
I mean, I would think, yeah.
Okay. Now, what about a generator? Let's say you have an electric vehicle, power goes out, and you have a generator. Will that generator charge a car?
Again, it depends on the size of the generator.
Okay.
You have generators that vary from a small 7,500 watt that'll power some lights and plugs and maybe your furnace to a massive industrial size generator that'll power a city block. So it is all determined by the size of the generator. If you want to charge your EV with a generator, you have to size it appropriately. Because again, the EVs take their full rating of power when they're in use.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that makes a big difference. And that's why it's important that you hire a professional like Josh, because you'll know what to look for and you'll know what to ask. Because I don't even know that. So, all right.
And the homeowners may not know what to ask. I know what to tell. So there will be no stone left unturned. We'll get a proper, installations made so that everything runs smoothly. I'm not going to sell them a 10,000 watt generator if they have a 60 amp car charger they need to charge. It's just not, it's incompatible.
Okay. So you'll size it properly. That makes sense. Obviously, a new generator for a whole house isn't cheap. Putting an EV charger in isn't cheap. Upgrading the panel isn't cheap. Do you offer financing?
We've been working with Synchrony Bank for financing, so that would be an option for clients that need to have that.
But would you take a credit card too, just in case?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure because, again, I would assume you could spend 20, 30 grand getting a brand new whole house generator, EV charger, upgrading.
We can even skip any kind of, credit plans where they're paying interest on a loan and work out a signed agreement between the client and us of a monthly payment. Where
so you should do that.
I'm the boss. I can do whatever I want. So yes,
you'll finance for homeowners.
If we can make an agreement and you'll pay $1,000 a month for 12 months, then we're good to go.
Now, what about surge protection? I've seen where the lights flicker a little bit. I hear a humming noise. There's areas of town where the power's always going out. Power surges come in and out. Do you come out and test for that? Is it like whole house surge protection or in the plug? Or combination thereof?
It's a combination. There's surge protection goes in stages. And before I get into that, those lights flickering could be a couple different reasons. You could have issues with the utility power coming in, a faulty transformer getting ready to blow out or something within your home's electrical system. So it's not just necessarily the utility company is having some issues where they're doing construction down the road. It could be within your own home. Obviously, we can't test if there's a problem with DTE's lines, but we can come into your home when you call us and say, hey, we have flickering lights. We'll check your outside electrical service. We'll check your electrical panel, open it up, and check all the connections inside for any corrosion, loose connections, anything like that would cause surge or flickering lights or anything like that. Also, turning on a microwave. They have a high draw or a big floor vacuum. Sometimes when you turn those on, your lights will dim a little bit. Or when your central air turns on. That's just the nature of introducing a high electrical load to your system.
Okay.
That really you can't do much about, but if it's not related to those things, then yes, it's probably something with DTE or something loose in your system.
Yeah. Well, that's what I want to say. I've heard some people say to me, hey, one of the legs is out. What does that mean?
Well, that's more technical, but your house is basically supplied with 2 power lines, not just one. So when you have your 240, which every house is supplied with, it's 120 on one leg, 120 on the other.
So one half could actually go out.
Different phases, yes, absolutely. But let's get back to your surge protection being in stages. So you got the flickering lights. We come out and you have a surge protector that'll be mounted to your main service. That will filter out any surges coming from outside, from DTE's issues. Now, if you have surges originating within your home, that's when you go to, we call them point of use surge protection. And that's at the plug, whether it's a plug strip surge protector, which not all of them are surge protectors, but you can do it that way, or a little 6 plug-in pack, or even an individual duplex receptacle that has a built-in surge protected device.
You can have it hardwired in?
Yeah, it's a plug.
It looks like
It looks like a regular plug, but there's a built-in surge protector.
What happens if it surges? Does it turn it off?
It automatically diverts the extra current to ground and keeping it out of your appliance that's plugged into it.
Can that cause a fire, or is there a fire hazard with that?
No. It diverts it to ground and it just goes literally to earth. It's dissipated into the ground and stays out of your electrical system and doesn't go into your appliance that's plugged in and causes any damage to that. Because that's the point. It's to not let excess current go into your devices and fry them. So that's what the surge protector does. They're calibrated at a certain voltage and they divert anything above that where it becomes a hazardous voltage. It diverts that to ground and it just dissipates into earth.
What's your opinion of extension cords? You know,
They're convenient, but they can be dangerous if used improperly.
yeah, how you go to the hardware store, you pick up one that has 6 in it, one that has the USBs and the plugs, and you plug it into the wall. Is there advice for someone who wants to buy something like that? I wouldn't even know.
Are you talking a plug strip or like an extension cord?
Or you plug in to the wall, and then you've got 6 plugs.
Okay,
plug strip.
Not all of those are surge protectors.
Right.
Just because you have that little red button that lights up when you turn it on, that's just showing you that strip has power. You have to have it say surge protector.
You recommend surge protected over.
If we're talking about surge protection for your equipment, yes, you're going to want a surge protector plug strip.
Okay.
Not just a regular old $5 plug strip from Ace Hardware, So if you're plugging in computers, anything really, to a plug strip, I'm not saying they're inherently dangerous because of an overload, because these really don't take a lot of juice.
Yeah.
But you're going to want to have that plug strip be a surge protector plug strip. We can provide and install those too if our clients deem it necessary.
What are the most common electrical problems homeowners are having today that are calling you?
Lights and plugs that don't work, like in the middle of a circuit. And what happens is over time, homes experience vibration. It's just part of the earth and life. And anytime there's a loose connection in a plug or a switch, those naturally occurring vibrations in the home exacerbate that. And over time, it creates little sparks and arcing within the plug. Carbon builds up. Next thing you know, it's not making a connection anymore, and half the circuit doesn't work.
Okay.
That's the most common service call is, oh, we have a bunch of lights and plugs that stop working.
Here's something that I noticed, and for whatever name of the company, it doesn't matter. Online, they've got the really cool light fixtures. They've got ceiling fans with lights, and you can get them really cheap. They're coming from overseas, and they come in a box, and people are like, oh yeah, I want to hook it up. In America, you have what they call UL rated.
Listing.
Yeah, listing. Yep. These products, I don't know if they are listed or not, but they're coming from overseas. They look pretty, but they're cheap. They don't really work that well. People get them and they try and hook it up. Are you seeing a lot of that? They're just defective, not cheaply. What is the problem with those?
I'm not seeing a ton of that, but I have seen it. If you're not going through the proper channels and getting it UL listed, UL listing means it's a company called Underwriters Laboratories, and they have facilities that test for the proper functionality of anything.
So really. It doesn't burn a house down.
Right. Yeah. So once they go through the rigorous testing process, they're deemed acceptable and safe to use. They'll get the UL listing sticker, and you're on your way. If you're buying all your things from China, they're not regulated by any kind of restrictions or guidelines that we have here in the States. So you're buying something kind of at your own risk and just cross your fingers and hoping it works and is safe.
What a great interview with Josh from Voltron Power. If you want more information about anything electrical for your house, whether it's an EV charger or a standby power generator or flickering lights, visit VoltronPower.com.